Welcome to Sovereign Souls, a special podcast sponsored by the Spirit Release Academy with your hosts, Jono, Webster, and Andy Porter.
Welcome to Sovereign Souls. Today's guest built a decades-long career in the hotel and meetings industry. She specializes in sourcing and negotiating hotel contracts worldwide. Alongside her corporate work, she is a certified facilitator with the Spirit Release Academy, meditation teacher, and Rouhani practitioner.
Her work now bridges business strategy and energy-based practices, and she loves showing clients how simple daily routines can support focus, clarity, and resilience.
So please welcome Lynn Golubowski. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be on your podcast. So good morning.
We're very honored to have you on our podcast. I think that's how it works.
That's exactly right, right?
Okay, so you spent decades in the hotel and meetings industry. What did the experience teach you about responsibility, decision-making, and of course, people?
You know, over those decades, I've learned a lot, and I've been very grateful all along for the opportunity to have had such a successful business. But, you know, really what it taught me is that urgency is often like an assumption, and it's not always real, right? And people making decisions are all doing it very differently from, you know, even when the facts are the same. So I also learned early on that, you know, any situation, there's more to it than what's visible or spoken. So just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not real. And, you know, it's never as clean as it appears on the surface. So, but really, many high achievers normalize stress and mistake the pressure for success and the constant go, go, go. And that, you know, they just normalize it. And then as you move down the path, it becomes very difficult to dig out of it. So, you know, reading people for me became really quickly essential, and not just what they said, but how they showed up.
Makes perfect sense. So then do you remember the moment that pushed you into the more spiritual world as well?
You know, I started to realize that even though it was, you know, a great business, and it still is, I was very one-sided. And so 4 or 5 years ago, I started to realize, and based on some comments from people and family, and the world was changing a little bit, and I was all business and very little self-care. And it was so lopsided that I finally started to see it, because I didn't see it for years and years and years. So I just started doing some research and learning about all things spiritual. And I realized that I was just, you know, plodding along, managing my stress, but never resolving it. And so I kind of just woke up and just one thing led to another.
Perfect.
So it leads.
So as you developed spiritually, I guess you were still working in the meetings business. Did your intuition show up in practical ways at work?
You know, one of the things that I really realized was that intuition had always guided me in my business, but I didn't know that word, because as I grew up, I mean, I didn't have any spiritual support, or nobody ever talked about it or whatever. But, you know, hindsight is always 20/20, right? So when I was negotiating contracts, I was really good at spotting gaps, noticing what people weren't saying versus what was being said. So now I realize that was my intuition all along, but I just didn't know what it was. So I would have conversations with myself like all the time, and, you know, move along, make decisions. And all of a sudden, you know, looking back, it really served me well in the business world, but I just didn't know it was there. And really, everybody has that ability, as you guys know too. I mean, we talk about it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone does have it, but knowing what it is and how to use it is a completely different thing sometimes, isn't it?
It is, and that's where you guys are just brilliant when it comes to teaching that sort of thing, and it's something for everybody.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. So I guess going into teachings then, Lynn, is really with the sort of more recent spiritual learnings, how did that actually help you transform into the business world as well?
It got me thinking about, you know, people busy, never taking time for themselves. And I had told you that I was so one-sided, and that, everybody, I'll use the proverbial hamster wheel, not to pick on hamsters, but, flying from one city to another. How many people have sat in that airline seat before you? How many people have slept in that hotel bed before you? And, after having gone through all of, the things that I've learned, I mean, every environment holds energetic residue, from the people who had been there before. So stress, exhaustion, excitement, whatever, you have no idea that you're bringing that on to yourself because you don't know what it is or how to manage it. So, after a few weeks of nonstop travel, that buildup can really just lead you down some wrong paths. It's basically energetic overload. So, what basically at the end of the day, what helps is having a simple grounding and self-care routine. And so that was really the first thing that I put in place after having, taken your classes and just doing a lot of reading and learning. And for a while there, I was going outside myself to learn everything. I was just devouring all things spiritual. But, the punchline really is coming back to yourself and, listening. And as Jono says, do nothing and sit there. And that, for me was huge.
When you were growing up then, Lynn, did you ever really feel drawn to the spiritual world per se?
Here again, just like in the business world, I didn't know it at the time, but, I could tell my mom once in a while when grandma was going to call, and then she'd call. And when my grandpa passed away, I was 11 and I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral. And I just knew that he was there, but I didn't, it's really taken some thoughtful soul searching and really kind of reliving some of those childhood experiences. But I knew I didn't know what I didn't know back then. So looking back, I knew he was intuitively with me there, but, I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral, ask questions like, where's grandpa? I think the question I asked was, is he still in the hospital? Because I had no idea. So, in answer to your question, there were always, little things that came up after some reflection on it. And, I think it's always been there.
That's generally what we find, is that most people do have it, but they just don't know they have it. And this is where the teachings come in. So in that sense, Lynn, I mean, if you look back over the last 5 years, what you've learned about your own energy now, what do you wish that you would have known about this earlier?
I really wish, and I've learned, that I shouldn't rely on willpower or productivity alone. Like I said earlier, people look at busyness sometimes as a badge of success. I'm busy all the time and never stopping. So, for a long time, I thought that staying organized and just pushing through was enough. And I think when you're in those moments, you just don't see it. So how I manage my energy now, really, I've proven over and over and over, it determines how well I think, how I show up. Some days, if I don't do my little routine and, grounding and just being present, even for a minute, it could be a minute or it could be 2 hours, right? If I don't do that during the day, I start to notice, how things maybe could have gone better. So the only way to know this is to experience it yourself, right? You have to learn these basic concepts and put them into practice, because people can tell you all day long, oh, that works. And, when people are ready, they're ready. And if they're not yet, that's okay too.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, it's perfect. So for someone brand new to this type of thing, Lynn, how would you explain spirit-guided remote spirit release in kind of simple terms, really?
It's been really eye-opening going through the Spirit Release Academy and getting certified as a facilitator. And I would have never thought, if you had told me even 5 or 10 years ago, that I'd be doing this. I'm just going to throw that in there, because sometimes I wake up and I'm like, what is going on? But it's so cool. So, when I talk to people about it, I'm just saying, listen, it identifies and removes negative energy that does not belong around you. And, restoring your clarity and peace, people notice it. People feel lighter. I mean, we always say that. People feel lighter. Well, what does that mean? sometimes you can't put your finger right on the definition of it until you go through it and have a clearing. And so when we went through the class, remember, we had to have all these case studies and everything. So, having people do it and experience it myself, and then having done many clearings after being certified, the testimonials are powerful. And obviously on your website too, you guys, that's what you do. That's what you do. So I couldn't be more grateful to have those tools in my tool chest.
So I think you've said that perfectly well, Lynn. I think one of the things is that nothing comes to us that isn't meant to. And I think sometimes you get these signs along the way. In your path, when you were coming through this, were there any signs that were sort of eye-opening and showed you to confirm that you are actually indeed on the right path?
That's a great question. I do have some very recent examples of that. And, it's kind of funny because, when you're talking to people about this whole modality and in the spiritual world, a lot of times the comments, as we get are, oh, do you have any signs lately? Like, it's like somebody's going to come out and hit you over the head with a brick and go, this is your sign. It doesn't work like that. They're very subtle. And if you're open to understanding what crosses your path and spending time with it and listening, there's all kinds of different things that can happen to you. So my mom passed away in 2024, and this was in the middle of going through Spirit Release Academy and, learning a lot. And I brought all her belongings to my house, and while I was working on her things, she was an artist, so I was divvying them up, giving them to museums, donating, whatever. And when I was in the middle of all this, her clock on my wall would stop every morning around 10 to 6. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. This is the clock without a battery or electricity. It's a pendulum. And it just kept happening and happening. And then once it was all cleared out, the clock worked fine. So every once in a while, like the museum called a month ago and we're talking about this big painted bed that she did, and it's a Swedish historical piece, and clock stops the next morning. So really been digging into those. I mean, she's very happy that her artwork is being noticed by other people. And the more I gave away even to friends and family, the more the clock stopped, because she was just happy. I mean, it just, after digging into it, it was pretty eye-opening to me, because this clock is fine now. And every once in a while, it randomly stops and I have to go, what just happened? What does she want to tell me? So I believe that's, very interesting. And then the other thing was, when I was signing up to do your class, Jono, psychic surgery, I said, can I do this? Do you remember that? And you said, well, does it feel right? That's your confirmation. So you weren't having it, because I wanted you to tell me if I could do it. And you were not having that at all. So here for me, in the past, everybody does it sometimes, is look outside for external validation, right? And you're like, if you decide to attend, I will guide you through everything you need. That's my role. And you just open up and enjoy the space. So that was huge for me. And that was a sign, because nobody has done that for me in my recent history. Like, no, you look at yourself. Everybody wants to sell you, this or that, or, here's your 12 steps you have to do, or 13 or 14 or 17, whatever they are. Like, do this when you get up. That was awesome. So, and then I think the other thing for me is with the Spirit Release Academy is there's no manual. When I first signed up, I'm like, where's the manual? Well, there isn't one. What do you mean there isn't one? Well, everyone brings their own, set of spiritual skills and daily life and everything to the basic training that you teach. And everybody ends up using it a little bit differently, because it's not one size fits all. Everybody incorporates it into their spiritual businesses in different ways. But in the end, we all do the same thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, and then I really think you guys allude to this a lot, that sometimes the guides can be humorous. So I'm a golfer, and I think when you walk a golf course, it's a perfect time to, just have a chat with yourself and your guides and look at nature, and it's beautiful, right? So I thought, here I go. I'm going to ask, how can I be better at golf? And my guide said, you're playing golf like other people really care. Stop it. So get your ego out of it. Nobody does care how you're playing golf. They're worried about their own golf game. And my golf game became a lot better. So you can get answers.
Yeah, I think you've explained that really well, particularly with golf, Lynn, when you're out there, very, very grounding. It can be a very personal experience, as well as the enjoyment of playing the round. Something you and I should do, mate.
Yeah, we should, mate. Yeah,
one day.
Definitely.
Don't you think that it doesn't matter if it's golf or taking a walk with your dog, or it's just being present? And there's no magic here. The punchline really is it's you. Like, how are you going to show up, and are you going to listen, or are you listening to everything outside of yourself? So, taking opportunities. Some people can say, oh, golf takes 4 hours. I love that. That's huge. I mean, it's awesome. You're with people, but you're also by yourself. Mm. So.
And I don't mind playing as long as I win. Just so you know.
Yeah, I'll look forward to that.
We're both quite competitive, to be fair, which is good. So why does this matter, really, in the kind of business world from your perspective, Lynn?
I just think that, if you understand that you're absorbing stress from teams and clients and environments, and that, that's clouding judgment and clouding decision-making, and, just having better energy leads to better leadership. So could you imagine if CEOs started understanding this and cleared their business and cleared their employees? I mean, that's huge. I mean, on some level, it would reset a lot of things.
We certainly understand that, and that is something that we think should be out there anyway, and something that we're certainly pushing towards. But yeah. I mean, I guess this is the thing, Lynn, isn't it? Because there's a difference usually between sort of holistic people and your average CEO.
Right.
So going back to your experience in teaching meditation, how is your approach different for executives and high functioning professionals?
Good question. For a long time, like many people probably, I tried to meditate and just couldn't, and was listening to all of the wrong ways to do it. I mean, the punchline really is there is no right way to meditate, right? And you guys are masters at it. And I've learned a lot from you as well, but it depends on the person. And sometimes somebody needs to quiet their mind, and sometimes they need to process. Your nervous system, when you're meditating, is processing things in the background and on a subconscious level that you're not even aware of. So, if there's a million thoughts flying through your head and you're sitting there, it's okay. Like, there's no wrong way to do it. And really understanding your body and just your awareness over any particular technique that might have been put in your brain 10 years ago, it's just a very personal thing. So instinctive meditation is a process that I learned from Lauren Roach and Camille Marine, and you can look them up there. They're brilliant on how they teach it, and how meditation really is personal on all levels, and everybody can do it differently. So there are no rules.
Always no rules.
Yeah, and I think that frames it really well, especially, as you say, John and I both teach meditation. We both do it very differently, but it's not about sitting with your thumbs kind of held together. It's about conscious meditation as opposed to just following a process, really.
Right.
So what would you say, Lynn, kind of excites you the most about the work that you're doing right now?
I think having something that I can teach people that, especially in the business world, they might not have thought about before. And like I said before, when you're ready to listen, you're ready, right? So some people aren't ready for things that we're doing, but I think it's pretty exciting because it's an opportunity to really bring something so valuable that will help, literally any human at any point in their day, even if it's just 1 minute being present, whatever it is you decide you're going to do. It's a skill people can use every single day. I think it should be taught in the schools too.
I completely agree with you. It's exactly where it should be. I think that will change a massive difference in how children are understanding life and learning.
Exactly.
To make a difference and ripple through the school as well. But it's not always easy. We understand that. Certainly in your sort of public work, what would you say is the hardest part of doing this work publicly?
For me, it's really letting go of the old labels. Being a specific person in a specific company, producing every year, being very successful, and now all of a sudden doing a big pivot, but exciting all the same. And really, for me too, it's showing myself and being visible, but not feeling the need to over-explain everything. Because I think that's where we can get into, a little rabbit hole as well. If you're trying to explain something, less is more, I think, right now. Energy is energy, and that's, a proven fact, and quantum physics and all of that. But, we don't have to explain everything. So I think that's probably it. I mean, it's really standing in both worlds and being confident about it. And I like it, and sometimes it's a challenge. So.
Always.
I think that's a good way to frame it. So when doubt kind of appears for you, what kind of brings you back to the start, back to your center part, really?
I go outside in the backyard and I take my dog out and I ground. And that can sound so cliche. Oh, are you grounded? But go stand on the earth. I mean, it works, right? We all know it works. And just being present in the moment, like just taking a breath, like we learned in class yesterday with breathing and just slowing down your nervous system, because that's really the key is maintaining, I don't want to say control, that's probably the wrong word, but just being balanced and understanding that if you're starting to get stressed or anxious, you can in an instant change that. But you have to be aware of it first, and you also have to understand how to do it. And that's, what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that does come back into that sort of title of being in control of your own being, isn't it? And your own spirit in that sense. But with the spirit side, sovereignty, and the word sovereign is something that we put out there a lot. The name of the podcast is Sovereign Souls. But as you alluded to earlier, Lynn, we're all different. We don't write a book and ask you to follow it. So sovereignty to you, what does it mean to you?
It really means it means tuning into myself. And so for a few years, I'll give you an example. I took every class I could get my hands on about spirituality, and and then at the end, I met you guys and landed with the Spirit Release Academy. But at the end of the day, it's really tuning into yourself and being fully present and understanding how we're human, right? So anything can trigger you. You could, somebody cuts you off in traffic or whatever, but it's really learning how to live without allowing that outside interference. It's like a hard stop, and it's hard. It sounds really easy that I'm saying it, and I'm kind of alluding that I do that, and I do, but it's a challenge. I'm not going to lie about that, right? It's really having some good boundaries as well. But really, I think it comes down to not allowing outside intrusions unless it's something you want. And that's hard. So I probably said that like 3 different ways, but anyway, I mean,
And they were
it's not just personal either. Like if I owned other companies, I mean, I would want to teach this, right? I would want people to understand they don't have to go down, any spiritual area. It doesn't have to be in that arena. It just is, who are we as human beings and how can we show up every day and manage our energy? It's pretty simple, right?
And understanding your boundaries and respecting your boundaries is a huge part of that, I think.
Right.
So I guess, Lynn, we're kind of on to final thoughts, really, from your perspective.
What it comes down to is really understanding what self-care means to you and how you want to take care of yourself. It takes some reflection and mindfulness, but it's an ongoing journey. It's not go buy the book and I'm done. It can be journaling. It can be exercise. It can be nourishing your body with good food. I mean, there's so many ways that you can start, and you start with one thing because, if you're looking at it going, okay, now I want a new routine and I want this and I want that, but to incorporate, new habits and new ways of being takes time. So just, pick one and start there, master it and move on to the next.
Achievable targets.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think so many times, especially with the new year and everything, New Year's resolutions and all of that. And I think really it should just be as you live your life through the year, things are going to change. You can change those. So.
Oh, well, and life will change it for you as well.
Exactly.
So this is where we come towards our sort of second from last question, I guess, is if someone listening feels tired, overwhelmed, or even slightly off in their own personality and energy, where do you think they should start?
We've talked about a lot of different areas, but an easy way to start is to start meditating. And there's lots of people that teach it. There's free apps out there. There's everything from A to Z. I mean, as you dive into that arena, I mean, there's just so many options. So something will resonate, and whatever resonates with you is, which one you should pick. If you're really feeling heavy and don't know where to start, really, or you just ask that question, but have a clearing. Prove it to yourself that the energy can be manipulated, moved, whatever needs to be done for you. You can work one-on-one there's a lot of facilitators and mediums on your website. I personally do clearings, and, small changes can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. I think, so where can listeners actually find you, Lynn? Can you give us your website, contact details?
Sure, I can. I have a website called One Choice at a Time, and that's where you can find me. And at, Lynn Golubowski on all the social media, and I'm around. When the vibe's right, I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. And also prominent on our practitioner page on the Spirit Release Academy.
That was the right word. Yes.
Too. Yeah. So, I mean, Lynn, this has been a great chat. I think this is the first of many chats we have together, and I look forward in other series to having you back on as a guest, because the information you carry is so valuable. And, when we try and link the sort of spiritual work into the business sector, I think you're the perfect bridge for that. And honestly, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on. And to everybody, thanks for listening. Stay grounded and definitely stay soulful.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Lynn. Bye-bye.
This podcast is sponsored by the Spirit Release Academy. To learn more information about the Academy and their ongoing courses, please visit spiritreleaseacademy.com.